It's time for an old school boot review on these Professor Barnet's boots. Welcome, I'm Carl Murawski, and this is the channel that helps you own better, look better, and live better. Let's get right into it. It's been a long time since I've done a boot review, and at this point I've done so many that it really takes something special to pique my interest. And these here, frankly, they're probably some of the best that I've ever had at this table. Now, a little bit about the name, okay? They say Prof Barnet, or is it Prof Barnet? There's only one T, so I'm not really sure what that means. And is it professor, like prof is short for professor? I don't know. It really doesn't matter because in the end, they just make a great boot and I want to tell you all about it. So now these are their cap toe boots and I've been wearing these for the last few months, though not at work, and I've definitely been babying them. They're just too nice. I don't want to get them ruined. These are like dressy boots. But look at those things. The first thing that draws your eye without a doubt is that leather. I mean, look at that color. That bluish green is very unexpected. And the reason that I chose this color is that, number one, I have a whole bunch of black and brown and tan boots, and reddish brown especially, that's like my favorite. But I don't have anything this bold. And when you think of men's pants, I mean, how often are you thinking about men's pants? Constantly, right? But you know, most of the time, men's pants are either black, gray, tan, blue, jeans, some sort of subtle color. Very rarely will you see somebody wearing a very bold pair of pants because it's a staple. You want to be able to wear it with a number of different things, which means that you can get away with a bolder color like this because you have that breakup there. So if you were to wear these, people will definitely notice, but that color is sort of welcome, especially in like I said, a sea of mundane earth tones. The main upper leather here is Badalassi Carlo Hortensia. It's full grain veg tanned leather with a distinct kind of marbled brushed look to it. And I remember the first time I saw this on a Craft & Lore wallet years ago, and I always wondered what it would look like on a pair of boots. Contrasting the cool tones of this leather is a very warm English bridle for the tongue and a couple places on the inside. This is also matched with the heel stack and everything like that, adding a really nice color contrast. Again, it's bold, there's no doubt about it, but it's intentional. Now these boots are lined. They don't list out what type of lining this is, but I assume it's probably calf leather. That's most of the time what they'll use. It's also very soft. So the welt is a 270-degree flat welt, adding to the bold elegance of these boots. The woodsman heel is capped off by a raw cord half sole, which is my preference since it allows for an uninterrupted solid heel stack. Now, all that is well and good. You're getting some really great materials from tanneries that you've actually heard of. But let's talk about the design here, because that's the thing that really drew me to it. And without good execution, the best materials in the world really don't mean a whole lot. Now, the thing that obviously stands out about these boots is this combination of a square toe with a round toe. I've never seen this done before, and it was very unexpected. I really like a big toe box, and to me, that's where all the personality of a boot is. The back half can almost remain the same, but if it has a pointed, sleek toe, then they can almost look like dress boots. They can work in a more formal occasion. But for a guy like me who's been blue collar my entire working life, I like work boots and that kind of chunky toe box. That's what these have. And that sprung toe with that kind of kicked up, they have an attitude to them, and that's what I really look for in a pair of boots. They look great. But the thing that they did here, and I assume that they did it during the lasting process, is they flattened out the top of this toe. This is a really, really cool look. And a lot of times that's rounded or whatever, but what they've done here is very distinct, and I've just never seen it done before. And cap that off with the fact that they've also used a cap toe here, which is very difficult. I know that when we were doing the Brawler, we tried a couple of different cap toes, and adding that leather in the front really made for a more difficult lasting process. So the fact that they did that here with just some minimal broguing, it combines rugged aesthetic and some elegance to make like this perfect, for me, dressy type of boot. Now without cutting these apart, it's really difficult to tell whether that's a true cap toe or not. But if I feel the leather in front of the cap toe and then on the cap toe itself, it's definitely stiffer. Now that could be just a toe stiffener in there, another piece of leather, and if I reach inside, I can't feel any seams or anything like that, so I'm led to believe that that probably is a true cap toe. Let's talk a little bit more about the details and execution of this boot. The stitching on this, I mean, now this is all hand done, right? So the stitching on this it's not perfect, but it's perfect enough so you still have that handmade kind of quality to it, and that's something that I've always talked about here is, what's the difference between clinical surgical, laser straight stitching with no sole, and true handmade craft that has some variance in it. I think this is really walking the line perfectly on that. The stitch per inch is very, very high, so you have a beautiful, very tight stitch. The lines are nice and straight, and where they have to match the radius, it's done almost perfectly. And there's a couple spots where you can see that it's getting a little closer, but that doesn't bother me at all. I mean, really, I think that they've done a wonderful job here. I mean, I've seen a lot of boots that have come out of a lot of factories that can't hold a candle to these. The clicking is very nice, and their choice of hide is kind of interesting. They've used smoother leather for the toe and for the heel, and something with a little bit more grain on both of the uppers. So you do have a matched set here. And I mean, I love grain. I love seeing the natural variation of a leather and stuff. But I like the fact that they match that on both. It's a subtle thing, but it's what makes them what they are. This flat welt ties into the heel so seamlessly that, I mean, you can see where it does so, but it's tapered and burnished and blended in just spectacularly. This is some really, really great work. One of the things that I noticed on these that I have never seen on a pair of boots before, and I've handled plenty of them, is that they've rounded off these corners here. So where the half sole stops, they've rounded off these sections right here. So a lot of times that's left straight and kind of sharp, but they have taken the time to make a beautiful radius there. Wearing these boots has been a pleasure, and it should be, because I provided them my measurements, so these are basically built to my feet. Still, coming from here and then translating it to Indonesia and then having something made for a foot that's on a totally different continent can be difficult. They did a really good job. I will say that there's a little bit more room than I was expecting, which isn't such a bad thing, because if I want to wear a thicker sock, then that's great. It means that these can kind of do dual duty and not just be relegated to the warmer months. So they fit well, and since they're a laced boot, you can always cinch them down, and my foot's not sliding around or anything like that, but I have allowance to wear a thicker sock if I want to. And as if that wasn't all glowing enough, the price is also very pleasant. These right here, as you see, were $415. Of course, shipping them to the US cost an extra, I think, $70. So let's say all in with shipping and all that stuff, you're somewhere around $500, which is, I mean, that's a lot of boot for the money. It really is. That is Pacific Northwest entry-level money for really what we're talking about, almost Japanese-style precision. I mean, the Indonesian boot game is really stands on its own now, so I feel kind of bad using the Japanese as a point of comparison, but I feel that maybe that's something that we can all appreciate, because we know that they do things to a very high level. In a lot of ways, I would say that Indonesia is nipping at their heels in a very real way. All right, I've gone on and on about how great these boots are, how nice they have been to wear, and what a bargain they are. So I always try to look for something that's a little bit of a downside. And being an Indonesian company, if you know where I'm going with this, you already know. That's the ordering process. So these aren't something that you just go to a website and click buy it now and then, put in your measurements and then, a week later they're thrown on your doorstep. This is something that you have to get in touch through Instagram and speak to somebody who's very polite, very kind, and very patient, but there's a little bit of a disconnect there. And I'm not really sure what the turnaround time is. These did take a few months to come to me. I think 3 months total. So I think that'll depend as well. But the ordering process can sometimes be a little tricky, and that's just to be expected. Now, it's better than it was a few years ago. I think that now people have gotten used to that, especially with Indonesia and the bootmakers over there. People have gotten used to the way that this operates, but that's the only catch. And I think that there may be other ways to get in touch with people from Professor Barnets and talk to them. As a matter of fact, there's some great interviews on YouTube here. This is a brand that's been reviewed by a lot of different people. The Happiness Carpenter has probably my favorite video on them. I looked very hard to find somebody who had a bad experience. And if they did, it has never been on the execution of the boots. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. It's been fun to do this old school boot review. I used to do these a ton, and I haven't done them recently, so it's been fun revisiting the past a little bit. Anyway, thanks for watching. I really appreciate it, and I'll catch you later.